Welcome to Stick Genius. It is more than a sport. It is history, culture, obsession, and for 2.5 billion people around the world, it is life itself. Cricket has produced some of the most extraordinary athletes ever to compete, set records that seem impossible to human reasoning, and delivered matches so dramatic they have permanently etched themselves into sporting legend. From a village pastime in Tudor England to a global billion-dollar spectacle, this is the story of cricket's records, its history, and its immortal legends. The story begins not in a grand stadium, but in the muddy fields of southeast England. The first documented reference to cricket dates to 1597, a court case in the village of Guildford mentioning cricket as a childhood game. By the 1700s, the game had grown up. The laws of cricket were first written in 1744, and the legendary Marylebone Cricket Club, the MCC, was founded at Lord's in 1787, becoming cricket's spiritual home and guardian of its laws ever since. Then came the moment everything changed. On the 15th of March, 1877, in Melbourne, Australia, the first ever Test match was played. Australia faced England on a ground beside the Lara River, and in a portent of things to come, Australia won by 45 runs. A rivalry was born that would consume two nations for the next 150 years. The Ashes had begun. Throughout the 19th century, the British Empire carried cricket to every corner of the globe: India, the Caribbean, South Africa, New Zealand. A game born on English village greens was becoming the planet's second most popular sport. One by one, the great cricketing nations emerged. The West Indies, forged from the flames of a colonial past, would go on to become the most feared team on earth. India, a nation where cricket is closer to religion than sport, debuted in tests in 1932 and would one day become the financial powerhouse that funds the entire global game. Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, New Zealand, South Africa, each brought their own character, their own legends, their own unforgettable moments. Today, the International Cricket Council governs 12 full member nations with 92 associate members across 5 continents. An estimated 2.5 billion people follow cricket, making it the second most watched sport on the planet after football. For nearly a century, Test cricket was the only format. Then, in 1971, an abandoned match between England and Australia led to an improvised one-day contest. And without anyone planning it, one-day international cricket was born. The first Cricket World Cup followed in 1975, won by the magnificent West Indies under Clive Lloyd. The 50-over game brought new excitement, bigger scores, tactical bowling changes, dramatic finishes. And then, in 2003, the England and Wales Cricket Board introduced a new format, 2020. 20 overs, power play rules, batting designed to entertain. Within years, T20 cricket had exploded across the world, a product built not just for stadiums, but for television screens and mobile phones. In 2008, the Indian Premier League launched and changed everything. Overnight, cricket became an entertainment product to rival any sporting league on earth. Global superstars in colored jerseys, cheerleaders, fireworks, billion-dollar broadcasting deals. The IPL is now valued at over $15 billion, making it one of the 10 most valuable sports leagues in the world. In its wake came the Big Bash in Australia, the PSL in Pakistan, the CPL in the Caribbean, SA20 in South Africa, and England's own 100. Franchise cricket has transformed the economics, the structure, and the very culture of the game. The way cricket is played has been reimagined in almost every generation. Early 20th century batters like Ranjit Singh Ji brought wrist play and elegance to the crease. Don Bradman in the 1930s combined pure orthodoxy with an almost inhuman ability to score runs. Viv Richards in the 1970s and 80s brought a physical presence and aggression that redefined what a batter could be. And today's T20 era has produced the ramp shot, the reverse sweep, the switch hit, strokes that would have seemed like science fiction to earlier generations. Bowling has evolved just as dramatically. West Indian fast bowlers in the 1970s and 80s used extreme pace to terrify world cricket. Shane Warne reinvented leg spin, making the art seem impossible to play. Wasim Akram mastered reverse swing, a technique that baffles even the best batters in the world. And today, data analytics guides every delivery a bowler bowls. For most of cricket's history, fielding was treated almost as an afterthought. Then came Jaunty Rhodes, the South African whose diving, bunter-like stops and direct hit runouts made fielding a weapon in its own right. Today, elite fielders are among the finest athletes in world sport, trained by conditioning coaches, analyzed by biomechanics specialists, and guided by GPS data that tracks every movement on the field. Technology has transformed umpiring too. The decision review system, Hackeye, Ultra Edge, ball tracking means unjust decisions are now challenged and corrected in real time. Cricket is no longer just a sport, it is a science. Every generation has had its dominant team. In 1948, Don Bradman led the Australian Invincibles, an unbeaten touring party so formidable that England could find no answer. From 1975 to 1991, West Indies reigned supreme under Clive Lloyd and later Viv Richards. 4 fearsome fast bowlers, devastating batting, and the most ruthless winning record in Test history. Then came Steve Waugh's Australians, who between 1999 and 2007 won 3 consecutive World Cups and set a Test record of 16 consecutive wins. And through the 2000s and into the present day, India has risen, first through Tendulkar and the class of 1983, then through Ganguly's aggressive India, and today through Kohli and Rohit Sharma, a superpower not just in cricket, but in world sport.
Where do you begin with the greatest batters of all time? Sir Donald Bradman finished his Test career with a batting average of 99.94. The next best in history barely reaches 62. Statisticians have calculated that Bradman was so far ahead of every other player in cricket history that no equivalent exists in any major sport. He was simply, in mathematical terms, the greatest. Sachin Tendulkar played international cricket for 24 years and scored 34,357 international runs. He scored 100 centuries across Test and ODI cricket. 100. In India, he was not treated as a sportsman. He was treated as a god. Brian Lara rewrote the record books twice, first scoring $375 against England, then coming back years later to reclaim the record with an extraordinary 400 not out. His technique, his elegance, and his ability to produce the impossible when it was needed most made him the most captivating batter of his generation. Viv Richards, Ricky Ponting, Virat Kohli. Each generation produces a batter who makes the game look effortless and reminds you why cricket can be the most beautiful sport in the world. If Tendulkar owns the batting records, Muttiah Muralitharan owns the bowling ones. The Sri Lankan off-spinner finished his Test career with 800 wickets, nearly 100 more than any other bowler in history. His unique action, his extraordinary variations, and his ability to take wickets on any surface in any conditions made him the most effective bowler the game has ever seen. Shane Warne sits second on that list with 708 wickets, but many would argue he was the greatest spinner of all time on artistic merit alone. His delivery to Mike Gatting in 1993, the so-called ball of the century, is still watched, rewatched, and marveled at 30 years later. Wasim Akram was the sultan of swing. His ability to move the ball at 90 miles an hour in both directions at will made him virtually unplayable, particularly in white ball cricket, where he became the finest limited overs bowler of his era. Glenn McGrath simply took wickets, match after match after match, with relentless accuracy that ground batters down until they made a mistake. And James Anderson, who has become England's greatest ever bowler, recently passed 700 Test wickets, a record that may stand for decades. Some players were so complete they could have played only with the bat or only with the ball and still been legends. Sir Garfield Sobers, the West Indian genius who many consider the greatest cricketer of all time, scored 8,000 Test runs and took 235 wickets. His batting was of Bradman-like quality. His bowling could be fast, slow, or orthodox spin. He could do everything. Jacques Kallis of South Africa sits alongside him in statistical terms, over 25,000 international runs and more than 500 international wickets. Ian Botham, Imran Khan, Kapil Dev, all-rounders who won World Cups and changed the destiny of entire series on a single afternoon. And then there are the captains. Clive Lloyd, who turned a collection of Caribbean islands into an invincible unit. Steve Waugh, who set standards of toughness and professionalism that defined a golden era. MS Dhoni, the only captain in history to win all three major ICC trophies, the T20 World Cup, the ODI World Cup, and the Champions Trophy. Let's talk about the numbers, because in cricket, the numbers tell stories that words alone cannot. Sachin Tendulkar, 34,357 international runs, 100 international centuries, numbers so large they seem fictional. Muttiah Muralitharan, 800 Test wickets, 534 ODI wickets, the most prolific wicket-taker in the history of the sport. Brian Lara, 400 not out, the highest individual score in Test cricket, made off the same England attack he'd already taken to 375 8 years earlier. Jim Laker in 1956, 19 wickets for 90 runs in a single Test match. 19! That means one man took every wicket in the match except one. It has never been repeated. Brendan McCullum, a Test century in 54 balls, the fastest in history, and a fitting final act in his legendary career. And towering above them all, Don Bradman, 99.94, the most unbreakable record in all sport, a number that has haunted cricket for 80 years and will haunt it forever. Some matches leave a mark that never fades. Headingley, 1981. England following on, seemingly beaten, and then Ian Botham, a player in the worst form of his career just weeks before, walked to the crease and played an innings of 149 not out that defied every logical explanation. Bob Willis then took 8 wickets for $43. Australia, needing just 130, were dismissed for 111. It remains one of the greatest sporting comebacks ever witnessed. Edgbaston, 2005. England and Australia locked in a battle for the Ashes. The second Test ended with England winning by just 2 runs, the closest margin in modern Test cricket. Andrew Flintoff consoling Brett Lee on the pitch afterward became one of sport's most iconic images. The 2019 World Cup Final. Lords. Scores level at the end of 50 overs. Scores level at the end of the Super Over. England won on boundary count, a rule so obscure that most people in the ground didn't know it existed. Ben Stokes, who had hit 6 sixes off Martin Guptill's final over to force the tie, stood on the outfield and could barely comprehend what had just happened. And then there was Kolkata in 2001. India, following on against the seemingly invincible Australians, produced VVS Laxman's innings of 281, one of the most technically perfect batting displays in history, supported by Rahul Dravid's 180. They won by 171 runs. The Australians' 16-match winning streak was over. Indian cricket would never be the same again. So why do these legends still matter? Because records are more than numbers. Because Bradman's 99.94 is not just a batting average, it is proof that excellence beyond imagination is possible. Because Tendulkar's 100 centuries are not just statistics, they are the childhood dreams of 1 billion people made real. Because every young batter picking up a bat in Chennai or Kingston or Lahore or Sydney is doing so because they once saw footage of someone extraordinary, someone who made them believe the impossible was achievable. Cricket's legends are the game's heartbeat. They are why parents take their children to grounds on cold mornings and sit through a whole day of play. They are why arguments about the greatest of all time will never end. They are why, after 150 years, cricket still makes 2.5 billion people stop everything and watch. Cricket, the records, the history, the legends. This has been their story. Like, share, and subscribe to Stick Genius for more sports content.